Hello, everyone. This is Shauna with Jeffco PTA. Thank you for joining us for our February event. We appreciate you being here very much. And we're going to go ahead and just start the presentation or start the meeting officially. Whoops. Don't want that. Sorry. All right. February 24th, 2021. We need an approval of the agenda and January minutes. So first, let's start with the agenda. If we're ready to go, let's approve this by consensus. Can we give a thumbs up if everybody's okay? And these are all items that Jeffco PTA board members vote on. Our guests do not have to do that. Thumbs up if you're good to go. Thank you very much. If anybody is opposed to that, can you please speak up, unmute yourself and speak up? All right, we're approved by consensus. January minutes, everybody got those in their board docs. Is everybody okay with approving those by consensus as well? Thumbs up if you're okay. If you need to correct anything, if it's minor typo errors, please go ahead and just type those into chat and we can take care of it that way. But if it's not, can we go ahead and unmute yourself and say something if you're not okay with it? Hearing nothing, we'll approve that by consensus. And we'll move on to Ms. Debbie Carpenter with the financial report.
All right, good evening, everybody. As usual, keeping it mean and lean. We did have an adjustment to the budget, but I didn't put it in here till we discuss it and let everybody know, and then you'll see it reflected and I'll have it posted. I'll give it to Kay to post on Google Docs, okay? Shauna has that on the previous slide. It is for sending people to convention. Okay. Westera checking, $22,618.01. In that little savings that we have, $57.80. In the Jane Hammond restricted funds, $5,918.65 for a total of $28,594.46. Any questions?
Any questions for Debbie? Okay, let's go back to this one little item. So approval of a budget change. We would like to spend approximately $300 on the expense for the Colorado PTA convention. This is for, I'm actually covered by Colorado PTA, but we would like to send our incoming board. So we have an election next month, but we would like to send our incoming new executive board and AAVPs that are on the slate, if that's okay with everyone. I do need a motion from someone to approve this.
I motion to change the budget line item for leadership training conventions to include a $300 plus or minus expense for all incoming officers and AAVPs for our next term for this coming April convention.
Beautiful.
State convention.
We have a second from Tim and a second and third from Jeff.
I was going to say Heidi definitely seconds.
Okay.
That's my baby.
Does anyone have any opposition to this or anybody want to speak out? Shall we vote? Is everybody okay to approve by consensus on this one? Thumbs up, please. If you're opposed, please feel free to speak up or send me a message in chat. You can also send me a private message in chat if you're uncomfortable speaking in public. Okay. Well, then I would say that that is approved. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, very, very much for this. Thank you, lovely Debbie, for taking care of the budget, as you always do. You have the biggest job here. Next one, Amy Sapphire actually arranged this. So this is our student scholarship fundraiser for tomorrow night. If you all would go to Please Piggin' Out Barbecue, would greatly appreciate you going there and getting some food. Amy Sapphire, do you want to just unmute yourself and talk about this place and the generosity that they're offering us?
Sure. These guys are great. They have done so much for our community. Actually, they donated It ended up going for, I think, $350. My friend Andy bought it at the Ram Ball, the Green Mountain High School fundraiser, about a year ago, where they allowed you to be pit boss for the day and then come in with a group of like 4 to 6 people and just eat. They're so supportive of our community, and their food is so good. It's going to be snowing tomorrow, so you probably don't want to eat on their patio, but their online ordering system is really easy. You put it all in, you pay for it, and you can even like pick the time you want to pick it up, and they'll have it all ready for you. I'm going to order big and put some smoked pulled pork aside for the weekend, and it is just so good. It's gotten a lot of traction. I posted it on the I Love You Lakewood site. I posted it on my own school's page. They had a fundraiser 2 nights ago, so I waited until yesterday. So, people, I'm not going to go to Noodles. I'm going to go here. So
You
please.
did a wonderful job, Amy, and I just want to thank you for that extra work. It's been really hard to actually raise funds this year during the pandemic. It's not like it usually is. So huge thank you. Of course, it's going to snow on the evening that we have the fun dinner night out. So yeah, but if anybody can go, that would be absolutely lovely.
Ms. Fritzler, the snow is actually, it's happening now. It's supposed to be stopping about 6 a.m. and it should be sunny, and you can go to that barbecue place. I will be going.
Oh, thank you. Well, perfect. Well, Christopher, of course, would have all of that information. Mike, can you please talk to us right quickly about nominating committee? Of course, we made this announcement on January 8th, well ahead of our bylaw requirements. So the nominating committee did a wonderful job. Thank you all for doing that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so since we did that, and again, we were early getting it all done, we've had a couple of changes. Carrie, who's grade A AVP, her and her husband have started a business, and so her time to be an AAVP was kind of like taken up by that. So she asked to step back, and we're happy to add Darcy Wood as an AVP for the next term, and she's also joined us currently. And then I decided that I would be an AVP as well next year, and that'll help me be around to help Wendy with the AVPs.
Thank you, Mike. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Now I'm still we lost a couple other AVPs over the break, and I'm still down. I'm down one AVP currently for now through the rest of the year. So if anybody knows of anybody that would like to be an AVP, let me know. We also could still use a couple more AVPs for the next term. We've got a nominated slate of AVPs, but we still need a few more. So let me know, okay? And by the way, while I've got you, the AVPs have done a great job. Our efforts with the units and the communication that's going on is fabulous. We are way ahead of where we were last year, and I think in terms
we're actually way ahead of the state. And John asked a question about areas. So John, we've kind of moved that around. It isn't necessarily areas. What we have focused on with our AAVP program is to have all of them have 10 schools or less, so that they can really focus on good quality communications with their schools, and it's not too much for anyone. Thank goodness we did that, considering what it looks like if you're a parent these days and have children at home during the pandemic. So yay. So we would need a little bit extra help if we can get it. If you know somebody fantastic, Lindsay, you're on here, and it would be lovely to talk to you later too. All right, well, we're just going to go ahead and jump into this. So because I know Christopher, our interim superintendent, has been busy all day long. So Christopher, do you have anything that you wanted to share on the screen, or you want to just talk to us?
Just going to talk to you.
Go for it. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to come on, providing the time. Great to see all of you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 100% in-person learning option. That's a topic out there right now. I'll talk a little bit about the budget, enroll Jeffco, and the snow. So we're going to go in reverse order. Let's talk about the snow. So it is snowing. If you haven't noticed, it is coming down hard. There is a prediction between 4 and 8 inches here in Jefferson County. Start at 5 o'clock. The snow will abate around 6 o'clock. So as you can imagine, I will meet with my emergency team at 7 o'clock this evening, and we will go through our protocols to decide if we are going to make an announcement that tomorrow will be a remote learning day, or we will wait and see what is looking like in the morning. If you don't know this, our buses start rolling about 3 a.m. just to check traction, check roads. We need to make sure that we can safely transport our kids. We also check the temperature. So we'll make a decision whether it is a remote learning day or it is a 2-hour delay. So you'll be hearing, you'll know the decision I made if it's tonight in some kind of a message here in the next hour or so. So there's that. Enroll Jeffco. We are going through our enrollment process right now and asking parents to check out all the different options in Jefferson County. And if you want to go move forward and register your child, we're in a pause window right now, and then we'll move into the second round. We will have information coming out this week announcing our 100% remote pre-K through 12 school next year. As you know, we have 20,000 students of our 80,000 students in the 100% remote environment right now, and 60,000 students are in our hybrid environment or in-person environment K-5. So because of the interest and the feedback we've gotten from our families, we already do have a JVA, Jeffco Virtual Academy, which is a 612 remote school. It is asynchronous, but we'll be building out a pre-K 12 synchronous remote school in Jefferson County moving forward. So getting a lot of feedback and doing a lot of work on that. The budget forums are going on now, and we've had 3 of them. We have another one tomorrow. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. We have another one on Friday. So we've got budget forums available for people to come and share feedback to our Board of Education members. We do need to reduce $54 million for the 21-22 school year, and the first budget reductions that were submitted and accepted were about $11.3 million from Central. We're looking at about $30 million potentially out of reserves. So we need to reduce another $12 million. So through attending those forums, we've been getting feedback from individuals, our staff members, our community members on where we should be going with those reductions, because the board will have to make some tough choices moving forward. And the topic that is on most people's mind right now is regarding the implementation of the 100% in-person learning option for 612. As I think you all know, we established and implemented the K-5 100% option back on January 19th. We returned our secondary student 612 to hybrid on the January 25th. And now we are looking into all those different components to making a decision around when we will implement the 612 100% model. So lots of recommendations, lots of individuals, of course, emailing me and telling me what their opinion is, and happy to read all those emails. I've received almost 300, and I've responded to many, but not all, as it takes a great deal of time, as you can imagine. People will email me and say, sorry for the book. And then at the end, they say, I hope you respond. So a lot of different opinions coming in. But the factors that I'm weighing right now, I want everyone to know this, is I'm looking at the dial. I look at our dial every day, and looking at our dial moving into blue. We have 2 of the 3 categories in blue right now. But that is the recommendation from Jefferson County Public Health, that we are in blue. So there's one of the factors. Also, I need to make sure there's a runway for all of our schools. You can think about all the schools of the children that your children attend, and we need to give them some time. They need to reach out to families to decide, do families want to change their learning model? That we need to have look at facilities and bring furniture back into classrooms. There's a lot of different things we need to do around lunch hour. So we need to give our time to our schools to do that. And we're also looking at vaccinations. I am so proud of the work of our partners, SCL Health, Centura Health, and Kaiser. They have brought so many vaccines in. We had our last major vaccination event today, sponsored through Stride, where we vaccinated 1,000 of our staff members today. We did move our way through our secondary schools and elementary schools and started vaccinating our board members and the members of our staff in our buildings, 809 Quail, 581 Conference Place, and the Ed Center. So happy about our employees having that opportunity to receive their first dose. We will now move into a 3 to 4 week period where our employees will start receiving their second dose, whether it's Pfizer 3 weeks or Moderna 4. And then the next piece we look at is after that second dose, after 14 days, staff members do not have to quarantine. So that's kind of one of those pieces I'm looking at as I look into making this decision. And I also want you to know I've received several recommendations. I received, of course, recommendations from our Board of Education on this. The 5 board members recommended that, first of all, I do reinstate the 100% in-person learning option for 6/12. So that was a directive from them. They gave me a time span anywhere from March 1st to April 5th. They also talked about where our dial could be in yellow or declining data or in blue. So I took those recommendations forward. We also have a committee called the Collaborative Monitoring Committee, and Ms. Shauna Fritzler, your very own Shauna Fritzler, is a member of that committee. On that committee, there are members from our 3 associations, our Educators Association, our Classified Association, and our Administrators Association. There are 6 parents on the committee from our 5 different districts, and we also have 4 students. 2 of the 4 students I actually met with before I came on here today. They were advocating for advocating for hybrid to continue. They really feel that like that was important to maintain that model. So I did take a recommendation from that committee 2 weeks ago. It was a unanimous decision. Their recommendation to me was that all of our student-facing staff receive 2 doses of the vaccine plus the 14 days, so they don't have to quarantine. That I do give all of my schools a runway to implement, that the dial is in blue, and that I guarantee that all health mitigation strategies are in place. The last piece of the advice or recommendation I received was from 50 different principals of our secondary schools. Last week, as many of you know, I met with all my secondary principals and I asked them to move forward and engage with the stakeholders in their school. The stakeholders really much reflect the Collaborative Monitoring Committee, classified staff, licensed staff, parents, guardians, students, administrators, and bring advice back to me, recommendations back to me on the date that I should implement the 100% in-person learning option, at least 3 reasons why, and then tell me who they talked to. So principals collected that data in a variety of ways. I met with them in 20 different articulation area groups on Monday from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the evening. So I now have all of their recommendations as well. So I will take those 27 recommendations and move forward and look for a consensus along with those other factors, and then make my decision on when we will be implementing that learning model. So there's my summary. Ms. Fritzler, if anyone has any questions for me, if you got some time, I'd be happy to answer questions. And that is the update from Jeffco Public Schools.
So Campbell is actually on this too.
Hello, I was just with Campbell.
He's one of our student PTA board members. So Campbell's on the Collaborative Monitoring Committee too. And well, anyone who knows me, so and has known me for a while, so also knows my daughter Morgan. So Campbell and Morgan and another friend and group of students are doing their own thing, separate from me, separate from PTA. So, yes, they've been advocating. So PTA has taken no position on the dates. Everybody's, and we've talked about this actually in Colorado PTA Legislative Committee as well. We want everybody to be safe, but everybody's experiences are very, very different this year. So this is, Christopher, I do not envy you. I've taken a little bit of the brunt of this myself. So, and as you well know, I had nothing to do with that. So, I wouldn't even give my daughter your phone number. So, right. So there it is. But thank you. Really, really appreciate you being so transparent and joining us and providing us this information. So I will get out my pom-poms because everybody loves a 50-year-old cheerleader. So thank you for everything you're doing. Really appreciate it.
I just want to acknowledge the students I've been meeting with, and I do want to acknowledge Morgan Fritzler, and I want to acknowledge Campbell and Spencer and Zane, 4 students I just met with at Lakewood High School. Very compelling reasons, compelling case. I was just proud of them. I was proud of them because they're Jeffco students and they came in, they had solid reasoning, and it was just great arguments. And a couple of them really have changed their mind and their thinking over the last couple of weeks. And I applauded them. And I said, that is what Jefferson County Public Schools is all about. It's about reasoning. It's about applying your thinking. And 2 weeks ago, they had very solid reasoning behind their recommendation to me. But after 2 weeks, they have listened to more people, they've studied some more, and they do have a change in their thinking. And I applauded them. I did tell them two things. If they would run for public office someday, I would vote for them. And if they would like to be a teacher in Jefferson County Public Schools, I will hire them. So there you go. If any of you are the parents of Morgan, Spencer, Zane, or Campbell, just know that they have a guaranteed job in Jefferson County Public Schools. So.
I will submit their names to Mike and Wendy for AAVP. So here we go. How about that one? Christopher, there is one question on here a couple times. When do you think you're going to make that decision?
So I was hoping to make the decision announcement today, but I did have some student groups I needed to meet with. One of them I just talked about. I do have a couple more student groups to meet with tomorrow, and I do believe that I've received all the feedback that I'd promised to receive. So I would like to move forward and have some kind of a decision either tomorrow or the next day. From a superintendent standpoint, just so you know, anytime a superintendent makes a snow day call, I really get my rear end chewed. So I don't know if I want to get my rear end chewed twice in the same day, with all due respect, but because that's kind of the way it works. So we'll find out. I do need to meet with these student groups tomorrow and schedule them. So if it's later on in the day, that might delay my decision and my announcement until Friday.
And yes, the comment is it is just as bad when you don't call a snow day. So we at PTA would advocate grace. So to everyone, we love when everybody advocates, but please be kind, show kindness.
If you want to do a quick poll and give me advice around the snow day right now, it wouldn't be a snow day because we are up against the 160 day, which is the mandatory number of days for our schools. So tomorrow it would have to be a remote day, or it would have to be a 2-hour delay. So of the three options. We will
not be doing a poll on this, Christopher. So because although you did give me one meeting subtracted for yesterday, which I appreciate very much, I do not have time for the email. So thank you very much, but no poll.
All right.
Beautiful. Any other questions for Christopher? Well, let's just give you a round of applause then. Everybody, thank you very much. We appreciate you being a member, and we appreciate you joining us for these superintendent updates. We appreciate it so very much.
And everyone, tomorrow during dinner time, go to Piggy's. It should be 30 degrees and full Colorado sunshine.
There you go. Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you for that. And since I blew it again, Jen Granberry, can you please speak up and give us a membership update?
Hi, yes. So unexpectedly, we got 3 more members. So while we're still not at triple digits, we're still at 93, which is huge and still way higher than previous years. So we're super excited, and now we're at 93, and hopefully we can get 7 more before the end of the school year.
Well, yeah, you get my 50-year-old cheerleader pom-poms as well. Go, Jen. Right. So you were a rock star. Thank you for everything. All right. Well, John McDonald, it is your floor. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us every single year, sometimes several times a year.
Well, I think I'm unmuted now.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here. I always like hanging out with PTA. You are cool people.
We are.
Now, I am the executive director for the Department of School Safety, which includes a pretty big umbrella of safety, security, emergency management, campus supervisors, threat assessment, patrol, emergency dispatch, pretty broad school safety arena. The only thing that they don't allow me to do is sit on the superintendent's emergency snowstorm group, because I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. And we have a state motto that 40 below keeps the riffraff out. And there's no such thing as too cold or too much snow. So I don't understand snow days in Colorado. I've never seen one that we really needed, but so they, all the way back to Cindy Stevenson, every superintendent that we've had has said, no, you can't be on my committee. Everything else I manage, I run.
We could pass a resolution if you'd like us to make sure that you're never on that committee.
Yeah, you know, I kind of think it's good for kids. Nothing like walking through a foot of snow to build character. But, now you probably understand why they don't let me on that committee. Boy, 2020 really sucked for so many reasons. And, school safety was a pretty significant challenge. You wouldn't think it would be at a time when we had no kids in our schools, but it really did challenge us because we were dealing with some issues that we frankly had not had to deal with in such a big manner in the past. And that's a lot of off-site stuff that still had impact to our schools and to our kids. And some of the behaviors that we saw on Zoom calls that kids were engaged in, and some of the activity and frankly criminal acts that we saw kids engaged in was really surprising and concerning. And there's a lot of talk about mental health during COVID, and I'll talk a little bit about that tonight because really some interesting stuff. And I think it highlights why we want to be back in school, but also when you go back to school, that there are some current concerns that we really have to address and prepare for. Many of you have heard me talk multiple times. I really believe that there's a great trust that has been placed on us to keep kids safe. I really believe there's just this absolute duty to protect, and I am absolutely convinced that the best thing that we can do keeping our kids safe is by creating a climate and culture where they not only feel safe in a school environment, but they are safe. And how do you do that at a time when we have COVID happening? And what does that look like? And one of the things that I believe we have to really be careful of in 2021 is that we don't falter. Yesterday was the 11th anniversary of our Deer Creek Middle School shooting. We have learned a lot in the last 21 years, and we've built this incredible school safety program in Jeffco that's been recognized nationally. And the challenge for us now is sustainability. At a time in our history when, we have so much at stake, and yet we're also struggling financially. And these are some hard decisions that our community is going to have to make. And your voice in PTA, I think, is absolutely critically essential. I believe, this is my own fundamental belief here, but there's two pillars that education is built upon right now in 2021. One is school safety. The other is mental health. Those two things are holding everything up. They're the foundation that allows everything to happen. And we want to make sure that our kids are feeling safe to go to school, feeling safe in school, have the supports that they need from a mental health perspective. I think Susan Leach is on here tonight. I will tell you, I'm a huge, huge fan and champion for what her team is doing and protecting our kids. And she is truly a mission partner for us and how we operate and manage school safety. Every threat that we have in the district, every suicidal student, anything that looks concerning, suspicious, she's on every text message I'm on. And to have somebody with her skill set to help us manage this whole system that includes school safety and the educational world, it's really important. So I really believe that we fail when we don't engage parents. We fail when we don't communicate properly with parents. It's our single biggest failure point in any crisis management we ever do or ever will do. And we struggle at it. And so does everybody else in the world of K-12 education. How much do you share? What do you share? How much is too much? How do you message it, manage it? It's a big, big deal. But I'm a big believer that our community needs to be engaged, needs to know. We need to build trust at every turn. I am absolutely convinced, and my daughter's heard me say this 1,000 times throughout her life. Trust is hard to earn and harder to keep. And it is really our duty as district leaders to create a climate and culture where we are engaging and communicating. And I once had a boss that used to tell me all the time, communication's cheap, spend a lot of it. It doesn't cost $1 to communicate with people and let them know what's happening. In a crisis, we've, I think, struggled in recent years because social media has taken over what used to be a 24-hour news cycle. We used to have opportunity and time to actually draft a message and say, this is what happened before we sent the message out. Today, before we can even get the message out, there's 500 social media posts about what happened, and most of them are inaccurate. So we're left trying to figure out, do we gather all the information we can and put out one message that corrects everything at one time? Do we put out what we can now and then just continue to send you 10, 20, 30 updates? It's a balance. And sometimes we do a great job. Sometimes we really struggle with it. And the bigger the crisis, the more the struggle. I will tell you that COVID has been the single biggest crisis management event of a lifetime. In anything I've ever been involved in 30 years of crisis management, I've never seen anything like this. What's fascinating is that when the COVID crisis began, I went to Dr. Glass and said, I lead, critical events for the district and have for years, but I don't know nothing about pandemic. I have no idea what a pandemic really is. And I made the suggestion that we make Julie Wilkin our crisis manager, incident commander for the duration of this event. And you know what? She has really stepped up and done some just amazing work. She brings an emergency nursing background with her, which certainly helps, is that incident command leader, but she'd never been an incident commander before. So my job over the last 9 months with COVID has been to support her, be her champion and encourage her and a sounding board and talk her off the ledge when, all the pressure is coming at her, and helping mentor what that crisis response looks like. And it's really been an interesting role. And now as we come back to school, we're starting to see the uptick of more and more issues again. The traditional threats, the traditional school safety issues that aren't COVID related, but then you throw in COVID and it becomes even bigger. So we have this shared priority. Parents, school district, schools, teachers, everybody has the shared priority of making sure that our students are safe. One of the questions I often get are safe to tell numbers up or down? Are suicides up or down? Are suicide assessments up or down? What are we looking at from a mental health perspective right now? So I reached out to Terry Walderman, our director of student services, and Terry leads that work and the crisis mental health response work that we do, and just she works for Susan Leach, and she's also just a tremendous asset for us. What's interesting is that since November, we have seen, I'm just pulling up some numbers here, 71 suicide attempts, or what we call M1 hospitalizations of students. That's actually down from previous years. Suicide risk assessments are down from previous years. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because we haven't been in school. And it's one thing to see a student in crisis on Zoom. It's another thing to see a student in crisis in front of you, when you can see things like, body language, when you can hear tone of voice, when you can see, the look of help me in a student's eyes. It's very, very different. So it's almost impossible to equate. And people say mental health issues are up. I don't discount that. I don't disbelieve that. But it's hard to measure that right now. And I think we have to be really hyper aware as we come back to school, what our students are showing, what our students are also demonstrating, and how they're adapting in an environment that's stressful for them. We don't know right now. I think time will tell. But, is it more stressful for students to be home or in school? I will tell you that for some kids, it's more stressful to be in school, and others, it's more stressful to be at home. We recognize that, and we are really talking a lot about that, because behaviors escalate, and a lot of stuff that the kids have happening at home come into the school world and impact everybody around them. Those things pose pretty significant challenges for a system that's already under stress and strain from COVID restrictions. So this year, the rest of this year is really a balancing act, and we're coming back to school at a time when every issue in the world of school safety increases between March and the end of May. It's our biggest, most challenging time of any school year, and it's something that we're going to have to really get our arms around pretty quickly as we navigate through this. So that's one of the challenges that we have. I will tell you that there is a thought out there that the suicide prevention trainings are making a big difference. I absolutely concur with that. Sean has become a trainer extraordinaire in the suicide awareness work, and I can tell when she has a class, because our safe to tell numbers go up over the next 2 to 3 days following that class. People are engaged, they're paying attention, and they're looking at their students, and they're making those reports to us.
So I do actually tell everybody on those trainings that it is the responsibility of both adults and anyone with a child with a phone to download the Safe to Tell app. And it's a requirement, and that we will talk to all of our kids specifically about it's not narking. So, and this is the reason why we do it.
And, we have a fundamental belief around here that, Safe to Tell, is the greatest thing you can do for your fellow student and for your own safety. And, telling is not snitching. We snitch to get someone in trouble. We tell to get someone help. And by messaging it to our students, and then building trust with them, when we don't do a lot of effort to try and figure out who left us the tip, We just work the tip, work the problem, and resolve it quietly, and making sure that the students involved in the tip, for whatever it was, are safe, as well as everybody else. And that's really an important component. Prior to COVID, many of us met, and you heard my pitch about the Jeffco PTA crisis response team that I want to start. And then COVID hit, and then we had to stay 100 feet apart, and you can no longer talk to each other or touch each other for fear of getting COVID. So everything went by the wayside. And now I think we're getting to the tail end of the era of COVID terrified. And as we move into whatever our new normal is going to be, I still believe that the crisis response team that we want to put together for Jeffco PTA as a mission partner with our Department of School Safety, with Jeffco Schools, is critically important. I want all of you to be not only advocates, but I want you to be responders as if we need you. And I ask that you consider standing up and being one of those responders to a school crisis if we make that call. Everything begins for us from a recovery standpoint at the parent-student reunification site. And I really believe that, depending on the size and scope of the event, it's a gas leak. We have to do a reunification because you can't get back to a school. Not a big deal. We can do that. We have to do a parent-student reunification because we have to evacuate a school because of a Sol Pias type of threat at Columbine 2 years ago. Much bigger deal. We may be calling in and saying, come help. I'm just throwing threats out there or problems, but a fire at a school that impacts an entire school community. PTA response team, come help us. It can be any number of things, but to have a group that we can count on, that we can reach out to and say, can you help us coordinate? Can you help students find a solution? I think there's not only an importance in that, but I think there's an honor in that. Everything surrounds school recovery support following that crisis event. How do we get our kids back to learning in a safe environment? How do we make sure that they see the kind, caring, trusted adults in their world? That's you all. And it doesn't mean that if we have a critical incident at your child's school, you're going to be part of the response team initially, because frankly, you got to be worried about your own kiddo, and that's your priority. And we completely understand that. But if it's a neighboring school, maybe one in your articulation area, maybe one a little further away across town, we want to be able to pick that phone up, have our dispatch center send out an alert and say, if you can, respond here. And we have a lot of work that we can have available if you're willing to help support us. There's things that you can do and we can't do. One of the things that we don't do is vigils. We don't ever hold a vigil on school property. And there's an emotional reason for that. There's safety reasons and liability. I don't worry so much about the liability issue, but what I do worry about is the emotional toll that takes, where students do a large-scale candlelight vigil for a student death or multiple deaths or injuries or whatever the case is. And now when they come back to school, they're reminded of that vigil every day. And that's challenging. Vigils also are challenging from a safety standpoint, and we need law enforcement support as well as our Department of School Safety personnel. We recommend and always tell students and communities, if you want to do a vigil, find a park, find an area off-site. You can do it there, but they often need guidance, and they need coordinators, and they need adults to be that point of contact for kids out in the community coming to gather. And that is just really important role, because it's off property. We are limited in what we can do. You all aren't limited at all. You can help and provide support and hope in any number of ways when it comes to something like this. And this is just, one example of many, many things. And the world changes when students and staff are traumatized, and that secondary trauma then goes directly to parents. So to see other parents, to see PTA out there, we have ordered 50 PTA emergency responder vests that say PTA in the front, PTA on the back, or PTA response team on the back. When you show up, we'll have this ready for you. I want people to see and understand that, there's support out here. And I want them to recognize that, you all are community leaders, and you're there to work with us and provide a safe school environment. We're not going to put you in harm's way ever. We just don't do that. But the emotional security that you provide, I don't even think you understand. And some of you may, just how important and impressive that is. And people always feel, I think, better when they see PTA around them. They know that you're engaged. They know that you've made a commitment to do something greater than self. And I want that to translate to our response and recovery for critical events. One of the things that we often do for staff support is coordinating donations with local restaurants to feed staff who are in crisis. They don't have time to do anything. I mean, just as an example, the Jessica Ridgway tragedy, we fed that staff for 3 weeks with restaurant donations every day when they came to work. They need a place to go that's quiet and safe in the school, where they can connect with each other, have a meal, and get back to work with the kids. And, for us, it's a big lift to try and coordinate that on top of everything else that we're doing. For you all, you're used to working with local businesses, people in the restaurant industry, at King Soopers or Safeway, whatever it is. We've done this with all of our crisis events for years. It gives people a moment to take a breath. And you're giving them a little bit of grace and saying, sit down here and take it easy, and we're going to take care of you. So another just example of the PTA response team work. And then we do debriefings on every large scale event crisis that we have. I would like to have PTA out with us at these community meetings. And I want people to see that you all are out there, that we're partners. And these debriefs that we do with community, that includes our local first responders are out there with us, whether it's the sheriff's office or the police departments. And we're working together and briefing, updating the community on what's happened and, why it happened. I'm a big believer that we have to own up to whatever occurred. Frank DeAngelis, our beloved retired principal at Columbine, showed us how to do that after the Columbine tragedy. And so many districts fail. and refuse to communicate and share with parents what happened. And I think that's another huge failure that often ends up with lack of trust and litigation when people don't know and feel like something's being hidden from them. I got nothing to hide. I believe in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And if we make a mistake, we got to stand up and be held accountable. So, for us in Jeffco, school safety is something that we've led the way on for many, many years. And it really does come down to preparedness, response, and recovery. In 2019, we handled 48,000 calls into our emergency dispatch center in the district. That's just from schools. Everything from medical calls to missing students to threats to suicidal issues to injuries on the playground. You name it, we respond to it. Could be an out of control student tearing up a classroom in the 3rd grade. It could be a safe to tell report. We get hundreds of safe to tell reports every year that we have to respond to. And this is the challenge, and it's going to become a bigger challenge, I believe, over the next year. The next year is going to challenge us like no other because the financial stress on the system will have an impact on school safety. There's no doubt in my mind that everybody's budget's going to take a hit, and that directly impacts school safety and how we manage. And I think creating partnerships that help us provide supports to schools, students, and families in times of need, is just one opportunity where we can do something that's low cost and high effective. So that's my pitch. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, let me get out my pom-poms again here. So, because yay. Yeah, Dr. Leach said how lucky we were to have you. And of course, you mentioned Dr. Leach and Julie Wilkin during that as well. All 3 of you have always engaged with PTA, always. So you are absolutely wonderful. So Natalie, I think you joined us a little bit late in the year too, when COVID was already starting. So everyone who wants to be part of the PTA crisis team has to be a member of the PTA. So you join through Jeffco PTA. Jen can help you do that. You have to complete a CBI. So gosh, it was a pretty low amount of money. I can't remember off the top of my head how much it is. So, but it's
$5.95, I believe.
Thank you. So very inexpensive. So you have to do that. It has to be clear, and you send that only to me. You do not send it, anywhere else. It's just clear. I just handle that directly with John, so that people's personal information is not floating around anywhere. So we won't be doing that. And then you have to take the suicide prevention training. So those are the requirements. We need to work on the FEMA training. So COVID hit, of course, during that time. Staff don't need to do a CBI, Casey. That's a good question. No, you'll already have that. If you have a copy of one and you can forward it to me, then I can throw it into our pile here as well, so that they're in John's records, and so that we know for our liability as well too, that we've double checked and we haven't sent somebody naughty off to John who's going to cause problems that he's going to call and scream at us about. And yeah, but you do have to do the suicide prevention trainings. Michelle, I still owe you. I have just added 1 or 2 per month all the way through June up on our website under events. So if you haven't done that, you need to do that. If anybody else wants to participate in that, refer them to those trainings. Of course, we always take care of anybody who can't afford the materials costs, just needs to say the word. And FEMA training is just going to be tricky. So it's a pandemic and we have to realize it's a pandemic. Casey, I don't think you need to as a district employee. So for the CBI, I think you're fine because that'll be in your records there. It's just those of us who are not staff members who have to be double checked.
I just wasn't sure how to get a copy to you, but we can deal with that later.
No, yeah, it's all good. We'll make sure it's all taken care of. John, I did submit to you a couple questions that people had asked in there. So of course, that first one was the one that you repeated. What are the mental health referral numbers for the school year? And that may not be something under yours. We have Dr. Leach here. That's more under her division. I do know she and I have talked about this, and we've talked about doing an event with just her about this mental health piece, which of course, school safety and mental health are our top priorities. So we're so lucky to have John and Susan here all the time helping us with this. I do know that suicides are down for the year, and I do know that mental health calls are up. So, and I'm very sorry about the added Safe to Tell calls, but I'm also very happy to know that that you're getting them as well.
Well, and a couple things. I want to go back to the CBI reports. If you're a district employee, a school employee, if you do something naughty, we get a report from Colorado Department of Education, and we know what you're up to. So you're good. We know that you're okay. The worst thing in the world would be, as an example, if, a PTA, a person that we didn't vet showed up on scene and somebody said, hey, didn't I see you in jail? Or, weren't you on 9 News the other day? That'd be really bad for us. So we got to protect the kids and the staff, and that's really important. What I'd like to do is the CBI report, have it done annually. I think that's really important. We just want to make sure that this is really above board. I will tell you, this is the first of its kind in the country. I have talked to national PTA people who have never heard of anything like this before, and they want to know how it's going. I've talked to Department of Education people in DC, had a conversation with the FBI about it, actually. I was out presenting to the FBI in Washington, DC, just as COVID was first hitting. And we talked about the Jeffco PTA crisis response team. And they asked if it would be something that I would brief them on after we have it up and running, because they see benefit using PTA for community response issues. And we heard that from Sergeant Tim Reed at Westminster Police Department last year as well. So I think there's great opportunity in this. And I'm not sure, Shauna mentioned FEMA training. That's something that we will do with you. And we will be sending out a notice for anybody that can attend. You can do the training on your own. It's super boring because it's government training, and it takes you a couple hours. I recommend a bottle of wine and chocolates to get through it or something, because it's that dry. But what it does do is it teaches you some of the language that first responders are using, that's the school district uses. I don't know if you know, but every school in the district has a FEMA trained incident command team. And that incident command team has a full structure in every school with an incident commander, an operations person, a logistics person. And we'll walk you through all what that all looks like, because I want you to know when you hear this stuff, say, what the heck are they talking about? You'll know, and you'll be certified, which is really cool. And it doesn't cost a thing. It's just 2 hours of your life you'll never get back, because it's government training, and they make it so boring that you want to jump off whatever ledge you're close to. But we can spice it up and make it super exciting for you.
We'll work on that. So I'm trying really hard not to laugh out loud. So yeah, we'll work on that one. Anyway, we'll be more in touch with more details on this. Obviously, we still have the COVID issue, the pandemic issue, but it is going to go forward, and we will get onto that. I think we'll wait to do the new CBIs until after we get going on this, so that we can make sure that they're new and fresh, because I don't want to I don't want you doing it constantly, but yeah, yearly would be a requirement, even if you were involved in anything with law enforcement. So that would be an important one as well. Any other question? Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, John, there was one more on here too. What is the policy on notifying parents of lockdowns during the day, or if there's a police presence near the school? Is it up to the discretion of the school? Which of course is always interesting because I'm always texting you because my phone blows up every time something
Yeah.
happens at school.
So good questions. First of all, lockdowns, you'll always get a notification of a lockdown. In our world, that's a must in the schools. If you have a school that just went into lockdown for some reason and they don't tell you, feel free to call me and I will make sure that messaging gets out and we explain what happened. That's really important because lockdown is the scariest thing we can do in a school environment. We treat it like a shots fired call. We treat it like a bank robbery in progress, and we're the bank. We treat that one as the most important thing that we will ever respond to a moment in time. And we come with lights and siren from everywhere. Law enforcement's coming, and we're pulling cameras up and doing all sorts of stuff to quickly manage and triage. And you know, that can get a little daunting for kids and staff when, especially if it's the real thing. Now, sometimes, you know, second grader sees a button behind a secretary's desk and says, "Oh, I wonder what this button does." And they push it, all of a sudden the school's in lockdown. And that happens every once in a while. We still treat it as the real thing. We have to. You should always get notification on that. That's just no ifs, ands, or buts. Secure perimeter used to be known as lockout. Now secure, because people were getting too confused with lockout and lockdown. They couldn't separate them. We would call the school and say, "We need you to go on lockout," and they'd panic and hit the lockdown button. And then, you know, we'd have to respond as if it's the real thing. Secure is a little different. Police activity in the area, you know, it depends. It depends on how close the issue is, why we're on secure. Sometimes we're on secure because there's elk on the playground. You probably won't get a call from us on that one. Sometimes it's the SWAT team is, you know, across the street and, you know, they're about ready to breach the house. Yeah, you're going to probably get an email on that one, or a letter home, or a message about what happened. It may be a little delayed in those cases because we're in the midst of it. The school, sometimes what happens in the school is, you know, the front office staff really has a lot of stuff that they have to do and that they're responsible for. So, you know, for instance, we had a school recently down south where there was a suspicious backpack found. And one of the staff members did what, you know, they do. They think, "Hey, this looks like a student's, maybe a student forgot the backpack at the elementary school." They brought it into the front office. The principal walked up, saw the backpack, and saw that it had a lock on the backpack and didn't recognize it, and started looking and thinking, "This is a little suspicious." So she picked the backpack up, moved it to a conference room where there's brick walls, and called us and called law enforcement. Law enforcement came out with a couple of our people and said, "Holy cow, we got to call the bomb squad." So then the bomb squad came out, and then they had the robot, and then they had the guy in the big bomb suit. And we had to move all the kids to the gymnasium. And, you know, they were preparing a charge to explode the backpack if they need to. And they did an x-ray on it, found some piping in there and some suspicious material. Turned out it was a nebulizer belonging to a student. The mom had a lock on it so nobody would take the medications. Turned out not to be an issue. You're probably going to get a call on that because the bomb squad truck in front of your elementary school is, you know, pretty concerning. We get that, but it takes a while for us to get those messages out. In that case, the bigger the event is, the faster you're going to get the message. That's the best way I can explain it. And there's just certain hard and fast rules where you're always going to get messages. And, if we fail on that,
And you've been actually a really incredible advocate to make sure that the district shares information with parents in a timely manner and a transparent manner. You've always been an advocate for that. And Dr. Leach, I know you are as well. And it's very, very helpful that is, that's a thing. So I know we've got our student PTA board members on here too. And I just wanted to ask you all right quick too. What did we're obviously not going to give details, so since we're recording this, but what did your training this year look like? Because part of the reason Mr. McDonald always talks about the reason why we do this is building muscle memory. And he'll talk about his daughter leading a lockdown, leading a lockdown in college campus. So, which is really kind of incredible. And you kids are probably better trained than nearly any other district in the country, if not world. So Campbell and Isabel, if you would kind of let us know, what does it feel like? And Campbell, I know at our school last year, we won't mention the school, we did have that lock out. So with activity in the parking lot. So would love to hear from the two of you as to what it was like this year, what it feels like this year.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So this year was wild. I got quarantined 3 times last semester, so I was not at school for a significant portion of that semester, but I do know that there was a lockdown drill that happened while I was quarantining at home that I heard lots about from peers and friends. And yeah, I mean, we've been doing it since as long as I've been in school. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just building muscle memory. I think that we are pretty good at it, but it's definitely a weird feeling as a student to be praised on how fast you can barricade a door or something like that. Yeah, so it depends. Sometimes it definitely feels more real of a threat than others. And it definitely there's just different levels of security depending on the classroom. If there's brick walls, if it's an inside facing classroom or an outside classroom. But yeah.
I like it, a tactically aware student.
Right.
That makes me happy.
Well, I have no doubt that actually they're probably the ones who are going to save the rest of us from losing our minds if there's an incident anywhere. Go ahead, Isabel. I'd love to hear what you have to say too, if you'd like.
Yeah, well, I've been doing that since elementary school as well. And I'm a freshman in high school, so I haven't had to do that in high school yet during COVID, so that's a good thing. I've had several lockouts because of animals on the playground and stuff, so we're all used to that. But we did have one lockdown drill. It was pretty scary. It was actually all just an accident and a miscommunication, but I did have to hide in the stairwell during gym as a 3rd grader, and everyone knew how to do it because we've been practicing that since kindergarten. And so everyone knew exactly what to do, and the teachers have been trained very well, especially with the papers everywhere, like saying what to do. So there are pretty clear instructions that all the kids that know how to read, and we knew where to hide. We stayed calm. The police officers did a good job too, and it was all sorted out. So I think the training is really helpful and important.
And we're sorry that you have to do it, but we appreciate that you feel confident in doing it. So thank you.
I'm going to hire both of them as spokespeople.
You actually should. So these two on here are rock stars. Yep.
Shauna mentioned my daughter leading a lockdown. She was a freshman in college, University of Minnesota. She's now in her last year of law school. And they had a man with a gun on campus walking down the middle of campus with a rifle. And they went into lockdown. The teacher panicked and said, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? And my daughter, who's 5'0" and 105 pounds, started yelling at male students to take the doors and prepare to engage whoever's coming in, and told the teacher what to do. And teacher said, how do you know how to do this? She said, she pointed at her sweatshirt and she said, Columbine graduate. And the professor said, you're leading this, you go ahead. And they had a very successful outcome, but I was super dad proud, of course, that all the work I had done since she was 3 years old and how to teach her to move tactically and, came to fruition. So she's as good as a SWAT member, and that's exciting for me.
Well, not really surprised there. She didn't have any choices, I don't think, either.
No, I used to yell lockdown at home just to see how fast she'd move.
Oh boy, it must be fun. Anybody else have any other questions for John, or you can speak up or you can put them in the chat. I don't want to go too long because we do have one other thing to discuss. Anybody else? Okay, then it's time to just get out the pom-poms and say thank you.
Thank you.
I wish we were in person so we could do something special for you because you've been an incredible, incredible partner. Yeah, everybody, please feel free to.
Thank you.
Unmute.
I appreciate the time, and if you find that school safety is a worthwhile endeavor and the work that we're doing, feel free to advocate for us whenever you can, because frankly, I think we're going to need it in the coming months with all of this budget work. And I believe there's nothing more important than keeping our kids and our staff safe. So,
well, school safety and mental health remains a priority of Jeffco PTA for this term. So you are continued a priority at least through June 30th. And I have no doubt that the future board would have the same opinions as well. So yeah, you can always call on us anytime you need anything. You know that.
thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to pop us back up into the other part of the presentation so that we can do the next thing. There we go, new business, sorry. Anybody have any other new business? I want to say one more thing here. So I have this magic box here. If you looked at my AAVPs in particular, saw my email lately, and if you're watching social media, you've noticed that Jeffco PTA has launched our nominations for awards pages. So we're 2 months away from giving away some wonderful awards. We would love if all of you would make nominations, whether it's PTAs or individuals. Take a look at those. They're prominent on the website. The executive committee has already selected our Kiffin Award winner. And in this box is the beautiful Kiffin Award. So ready to go for a special person, but you'll have to go to that meeting to find out who the executive committee picked for the Kiffin Award this year, which is of course our highest award. In the meantime, so we have the other awards on there. It's local unit of the year. So PTA, we've got our Crystal Apple Teacher of the Year Award. So I can't wait until we do that one so I can go get that award because it's also quite beautiful. And the Jane Hammond Award is up there. So go make your nominations and then go share it on social media and tell other people to do this as well. So I do not want any awards. So do not put my name in anything because I will immediately delete it, just so you know. This goes to somebody else. Love you guys more than words can say. This is the most incredible board I have had the pleasure of ever working with in PTA. I'm so very, very grateful for all of you. Next month is our election meeting. Everyone who is a PTA member will come and vote. So people still can let me know 15 days before our meeting. So if they would like to be on the ballot, so and oppose someone on the slate, that typically doesn't happen. So, but it is something that can happen. It's in our bylaws and allowed. And then we would still go through the same voting platform, but we'll have that. April will be a spring fling. So basically we're going to give our awards at that point. Some of them might end up being videos that we're going to watch together. So when we have that April meeting, I believe it's April 28th. So you're going to come and sit here with your favorite beverages. So whatever you want. If it's wine, great. If it's Coke, or Pepsi or whatever you want, fine. If it's water, that's also fine. Miss Sapphire always advocates for everybody to remain hydrated. So make sure that that's a big one too. Take your pick. April is going to be our celebration. And we will have the installation of our elected officers. So I will do my best not to cry. And then May, we always take May off because it's way too busy. And in June, we will not have a public meeting because we will meeting just us to wrap up our term. And then we'll start handoff meetings to the future officers. So I can't believe how fast it's gone. So, and at some points it's also gone really, really slow. So maybe it's because of the pandemic, it's lasting 40 years. So, but that's a piece of it. You can also see some special events that are being planned. You'll see those in my emails, of course, with Dr. Leach. I'm talking about some with her. Dr. Odom, of course, we've been talking about something further on in the year to talk about some of those vaccinations. So those will be some really important and interesting events. I also have our, oh gosh, what is her name? Kiki Stickney. So we're talking about substance abuse issues again. So she and I are in touch as well for that. But those will, of course, be recorded and open to absolutely available as always. Any other new business from anyone else? All right, then this meeting is adjourned and you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you.